Help! Somebody stop this thing! Hey everyone, I don't know what's going on right now. The TARDIS is out of control, so I am just trying to get out of. So, coming up on today's episode, as soon as we get this thing figured out, we are going to talk about the iPhone SE3. We're going to talk about how it is the last LCD model phone. Also, we're going to talk about the MacBook Pros and also some other things. But guys, I got to stop this thing. So can you please, somebody put this thing on autopilot soon? Alright, thank goodness for the autopilot. Alrighty, where was I? Oh yeah, story number one. So story number one, the main story, the iPhone SE3. Now the iPhone SE3, as you know, is going to be the last iPhone SE model with an LCD display. As we have now seen that Apple has transitioned away from LCDs and have made all their models OLED, we can now get an idea of where they're headed with the new rumors of the SE3. Starting with the SE3, it seems that they will base it off of the iPhone XR. So yes, we kind of already knew that. There was no surprise there. A lot of people were suggesting that this new iPhone SE3 was going to basically be a redesign with the same small ratio, but with Touch ID. Well, it does seem like that is still the case, as a new report claims that while the SE3 will have the redesign, it will not have Face ID, as it will still have Touch ID on the side of the phone, and it will be Apple's last LCD iPhone. Going into the report further, they explain that the LCD screen is going to be the last supported model, as Apple will be working towards mini LED for the SE series. They will also have an A15 processor and will support one type of 5G. Now, everyone is speculating sub 6 because sub 6 is the more cheaper 5G to support, less cost heavy, whereas millimeter wave will add a premium heft to it. Also, looking at the reports, there are people still continuing that the iPhone SE3 is going to be a more 5.5 inch display. Some people are suggesting it'll be a 6-inch display. We don't know the exact dimensions. We have to see renders and mock-ups from leakers as we get closer and closer to this phone. But rounding up all the rumors, the last thing they talk about with the new iPhone SE3 is that it'll be approximately $499 retail. Now that is still a very good price for the iPhone, but it does kind of correlate and kind of mess up the timing with most of the Apple iPhones that are in that price range, like the iPhone 11, then the 12, then the 13, and the Pro and the Pro Max, and then the SE comes in there and is around the ballpark. You gotta kind of figure out something there. But overall, looking at everything, we can now see that the iPhone SE3 is still going to be the budget end. There really should be no big hype for it, as I feel like everybody trying to speculate and say that this whole notchless iPhone was going to start with the SE. I feel like that was over-exemption, and trust me, when we get to the MacBook Pro, we'll talk about that notch in a second. But the notch is there to stay. But it does seem that Apple is going to phase out LCD, as they are phasing it out as we speak. So this will be the last model to have it, and then we'll see where they go from there. But the iPhone SE3 is looking to be a huge successor, and I cannot actually wait. I actually am pretty excited for the SE model, and maybe it'll be a good upgrade for Apple users that are just trying to find a cheap way into iOS. So we'll have to wait and see. Alrighty, story number two, let's talk about the MacBook Pro. Now, as you know, today the embargoes have lifted for the Google Pixel 6 Pro, the MacBook, and by the way, with the Pixel 6 Pro, you guys, I urge you all to check out Steam Bubble Tech and Latrell's videos. They made some great videos on the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro, mostly the Pro, so I will leave a link to their videos in the description. Latrell probably hasn't released his yet, so I will make sure to update you if he does, but check out those two individuals because they are giving some really great insight on a great smartphone. But looking at the MacBook Pro, the embargo has lifted, and as expected, the reviews are positive. For good reason. The machine is good. Before we talk about the notch, The actual machine itself with the M1 Pro and M1 Max have unbelievable power. The benchmark scores do not lie. They show that this computer is capable. The battery life is excellent, the display quality is good, and the whole feeling of this refresh, having MagSafe, HDMI, all the ports that Apple tried to say were obsolete and replaced with USB-C only further shows how far away Apple's reality was, and the whole dongle life is gone. They are going to still, of course, have dongles for MacBook Airs and others, but when it comes to the Pro users, yeah, there's going to be no dongles there. So, good job. But of course, the main thing that everybody wanted to see was how were people going to validate the notch. And of course, with every review, and it is a trend, you're not going to tell me otherwise, every reviewer has stated the notch was unnecessary. Yes, it does disappear just like your iPhone. Yes, there are some clever wallpapers that do hide it. They still could not find a way around justifying the notch on the MacBook Pro. Now, does that ruin the experience? Yes and no, but does it make you not buy the machine? Absolutely not. But there's no way you look at it, no matter how you try to position it, every reviewer just could not validate putting the notch on the MacBook Pro. Even if Apple's marketing and all the sheeps and shillings go out and say, oh, but it gives you a screen to body ratio, it is better than a Dell computer, you are a nerd. It doesn't matter what you say, because at the end of the day, Samsung and Dell have infinity displays with a very tiny bezel, and in that little bezel has a nice camera system that Apple could have followed, but of course, they chose brand recognition over that. So you could say all you want, you can't walk your way out of a pastry bag on this one, guys. So bottom line, the MacBook Pro embargo is lifted and the reviews are positive, but just as predicted, the reviewers are having a hard time justifying the notch on the MacBook Pro. No surprise there. And last story, the final story, the Samsung Galaxy S22 line. Now, this is an update on the entire line, not the Ultra, but the entire Galaxy S22 series. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we have run into a problem, and this problem is in regards to what's going on with the entire, tech world with the chip shortage. Now, Samsung did not release the Fan Edition series because of the chipset and because of everything going on around it. Well, it does look like that is going to be the case because according to several users from Mac Winnipeg and others, that even though the Snapdragon 898 chip is the preferred chip method, there is going to be an Exynos 2200 chipset available in the United States. Because of the chip shortage in Snapdragon and other venues and other areas, Samsung is relying on the Exynos 2200 and are presumably going to put them internationally, and then if they fall short, they're going to have to put them in America. Now, this is good and bad news because you will get a phone, but the bad news is you might not get that Snapdragon model, you'll probably getting the Exynos. But regardless of that, this is still a good thing for me because the Exynos 2200 has the AMD graphics and does seem to have the performance, and with Samsung optimization can also give you a better experience. Now again, that varies on who tells you what. For me, I'm excited for the 2200, but I can understand why people would be upset because if you're going to try to give the Ultra and the Plus models different chipsets, and then you go into a carrier store and you're trying to buy these phones, you're not going to know which phone you're going to get. You're not going to know. And what happens if one is better than the other? So there could be a lot of confusion there. So I'm going to keep you up to date on this story, but make sure you're subscribed and turning on those notifications so you do not miss when I update you on stories like this. And that's it for today's episode of Technoid. Now guys, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, hit the like button. If you disliked the video, you can hit the dislike button. That helps circulate my videos as well. As always, everyone, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next episode. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Take care, stay safe, and peace!